Today I want to find out, would it be possible to beat Fallout 3 using only stolen items? Honestly, I've never really done much thievery in the Fallout games, but the mechanic exists, so we might as well explore it. So, in order to save any contention about what does and does not count as stealing, I've hammered out some simple rules for this challenge. So, the first rule is a given: I can only make use of or utilize stolen items. Rule 2, more of a concession than an actual rule, does actually contradict the first rule, in that I am allowing myself to use main quest related items. So, for example, I'm allowed to collect the Gek. However, I will have to here and now emphasize the difference between scavenging and stealing. You see, if you hover over an item, a door, or a computer terminal, and the crosshair or the heads up display is green, that means that you are perfectly within your legal right to access this item. So this means that I will only be able to make use of anything when the heads up display shows red. This indicates that the item is not my own and would be illegal to make use of. Rule 3 is that I'm allowed to lockpick, use the science skill, or pickpocket to complete quests. You see, you can actually hack terminals in order to get information, and this is a kind of stealing, the stealing of information. So without further ado, let's find out, can you beat Fallout 3 as a thief? So I decided to be a male for this run. I called myself Tea Leaf for reasons I'm not going to explain. And I chose one of the preset character builds because, well, say it with me, society's definitions of beauty are BS. So right at the start of my life, Dad seems to already want to put me into baby prison. I break out and choose my special perks. I set intelligence and agility to 9, as intelligence will give you more skill points every time you level up. Agility would be good for using VATS as well as sneaking, and perception is always good for finding out who's around. I believe it also helps with lockpicking. So at my 10-year-old birthday party, Amata gives me a Grognak the Barbarian book, and Old Lady Palmer gives me a sweet roll, which I actually have to drop both of. Now, this was actually really interesting because I've never dropped the sweet roll before. I didn't know this, but it actually gives you another dialogue option when Butch wants your sweet roll. You can tell him that you dropped it on the floor and he can eat it off the floor if he'd like. I have never seen this dialogue before. So, shooting the Rad Roach with the BB gun is part of the main quest and there is no getting around it. So it will be allowed for the continuation of this challenge. So this next part ripped my still beating heart out of my chest. You see, the medicine bobblehead on our dad's desk is not going to be a stolen item, therefore I can't pick it up. However, thanks to some incriminating pictures of Mr. Broch, I was able to fix my own exam results. I chose Sneak, Science and Lockpick as my main tag skills. I feel like I'm going to get the most use out of them. So, when the time came for me to escape the vault, I realised one serious problem. Looting corpses is not stealing. I did, however, try to pickpocket what few Vault 101 residents were around. So, with no way to gain access to a stolen weapon at the minute, I was forced to simply run past all of the enemies. I knew that I could in fact steal the Overseer's key and password to escape Vault 101. Now, I did fail a couple of times, but luckily I quick saved beforehand, so it was just a case of reloading and trying again. So, using the stolen key and password, I was able to make it into the Overseer's room and eventually escape Vault 101. So upon entering Springvale, I hit level 2, where I put all of my points into small guns. I couldn't decide between the Swift Learner and the Thief perk, so I just started clicking them both randomly to see what I'd land on. In the end, I chose the Thief. Now, in order to get some quick and easy caps, my first plan was to convince Silver to give me 300 for Moriarty. Now, I consider this a form of stealing because it's an actual con. I was also able to steal a knife from Silver's kitchen, When she spotted me though, she decided that she wanted to attack me, so I cut her to pieces. And unfortunately, as we've already discussed, looting is not stealing. So silver does have 100 caps, but if I take it, it wouldn't count as stealing, so yeah, I can't take it. I decided to steal a few things from Silver's house with the intention of selling them, but then I realized, hold on, even if I get caps, I can't really buy anything for this challenge. So my next plan was, upon entering Megaton, to steal the strength bobblehead from Lucas Sim's house. I could do this simply by picking the lock or by stealing his house key, which I did. It took a few attempts and I had to keep reloading, only to have my heart shattered into a million pieces once again upon the inevitable realization that the strength bobblehead was not something to be stolen. I was, however, able to pick the lock in Moriarty's cabinet, steal his computer password, and find out information about where Dad went. Seems Daddy's gone to a magical place called Washington, D.C. in search of a radio station called Galaxy News Radio. Before that, however, I was painfully under-equipped. You see, I would need the intelligence bobblehead. I would later find out, of course, that it was not a stealable item, so I wouldn't be able to get it anyway, but I wanted to head to Rivet City. To do this, I jumped into the Potomac River and swam southwest. Now, it is worth noting that in doing this, you will take a decent amount of radiation damage due to the naturally radiant water. Is radiant water a word? Is that what that means? I don't think it is. Anyway, I was able to steal Harkness's armory key, as well as Harkness's key, which I assume is for his room, although I don't know where it is. I was also able to acquire a significant number of guns from Flak and Shrapnel. However, I did not get any ammo. And this is a big problem that I'm going to have. I don't know where I'm going to be able to steal ammunition. Medpacks are also going to be quite a problem to obtain. So now that we knew the location that Dad went, we decided to follow him to Galaxy News Radio. However, we would first have to travel through the metro tunnels. Now at the minute, I'm currently equipped with a few stolen items. I have no stolen armor and one stim pack. Essentially what this means is that the denizens of the metro tunnels hand me my ass on a silver platter. I was eventually able to take down a group of ghouls before realizing that, hey, I'm completely out of medical supplies, and so I would have to run through the rest of the metro tunnels, ignoring all the enemies. And I would also have to cower behind the Brotherhood of Steel like a coward as they took down all the super mutants outside of Galaxy News Radio. I even hid in one of the preservation chambers until Paladin Lions took down the super mutants for me. That's how bad my character is at the minute. And since the Fat Man would not be considered a stolen item, I was not able to use it, so I had to wait an extremely long time for the Brotherhood to take down the super mutant behemoth. Then at long last, we were finally able to gain an audience with the coolest video game character to ever be created. Upon meeting 3Dog, I was able to level up where I distributed my points between sneak and lockpicking, and I finally chose the Swift Learner perk. In the pursuit of gaining further experience, I decided to go around Rivet City, lockpicking as many doors as I could. Then I would need to head towards the mall in order to fix the GNR radio mast. I've decided by this point that I'm going to have to use the sledgehammer as it doesn't require ammunition. Surprisingly enough, I am rather capable at smashing through the super mutants with the sledgehammer. I had expected a few of them to have more close combat weapons, but all of them seem to have hunting rifles. Normally I find that by the time I enter the Museum of Technology, there tends to be more super mutant brutes around. However, I haven't done any of the Wasteland Survival Guide, so my level isn't as high as it would normally be, so that's probably why I'm just dealing with basic super mutants right now. Now, this next part is quite interesting, because it has actually solved a problem for me as to repairing and maintaining my weapons. You see, if you have a stolen weapon equipped and you repair it with a non-stolen weapon, the weapon that you're using will still count as stolen. I hope you can see where I'm going with this. Now, technically, I am being very liberal with my rules here, but I think I want to allow it. So, after I collected the radio dish, I was pretty badly damaged with no real way to heal myself, so I had to just run across the mall and let the Brotherhood of Steel take care of any super mutants that chased me until I was able to go up and fix the radio tower. Luckily, there is a bed up there, so I was able to heal before I repaired the radio mast, and then it was time to head back to Three Dog. I got a hell of a lot of experience for this, but I did not level up. So then it was back to picking random locks around Rivet City to try and gain some more experience. I also briefly spoke to Dr. Lee in order to further the main quest. Eventually, after picking a lock in the marketplace, I leveled up. And upon leveling up, I put my lockpicking skill up to 70. I then chose the Thief perk, giving me 5 extra points. I should now have 75 lockpicking skill. So you might remember that earlier we pickpocketed the armory key from Harkness. Well, it's time to put that to good use. You see, there's a security turret in the armory, and if you take it down, you will have access to combat armor as well as some pretty sweet guns and ammunition. I was actually able to get myself a suit of combat armor. This is the first time in this challenge that I've actually been able to wear clothing. So my next mission was to head to the Jefferson Memorial Rotunda in order to recover Dad's tapes. I would have to smash my way through several super mutants with a sledgehammer. Now, at some point, I will be forced to come back here and clear out the rest of the super mutants in the Jefferson Memorial, so I decided it would be best to try and get it done now. Then, after finding Dad's tapes, I found that he was going to a place called Vault 112. Now, to be honest, I lack the equipment and the firepower to actually deal with enemies in the capital Wasteland, so I basically just made a straight beeline for Vault 112, trying not to deal with any enemies. Then I got to enter the Matrix, a simulation world where I immediately leveled up. I put all of my points into melee weapons, as I'm now going to be using a sledgehammer permanently. I also picked the Swift Learner perk level 2, and then I activated the failsafe without even talking to Braun. Upon escaping Tranquility Lane, I gained a hell of a lot of experience as well as finding Dad. However, I once again did not level up, which is a shame. So after a touching reunion between Dad and Dr. Lee, I decided to go and lockpick some of the harder locks around Rivet City to try and get some more experience. This allowed me to level up again, where I distributed my points between melee weapons and repair. I also took the Child at Heart perk, as I know I'm going to need this for Little Lamplight. So, Dad had some menial tasks for me to do at the Jefferson Memorial in order to get the water purifier to work properly, although we still didn't have a GEC. Then the Enclave showed up to try and steal the purifier from us. I bashed a few heads in with a baseball bat. I even used my Chinese assault rifle at one point, which I regret because I only had like 20 ammo, and Little Lamplight, well, I could have really used the ammo for that. Dad went full scorched earth on the Enclave to neutralise the threat, killing himself and the Colonel at the same time. Then myself and the rest of the scientists ran through the sewers like rats in order to escape the Enclave. I dealt with the Gaza situation appropriately. Now, to be fair, I didn't actually have any med packs. It's really hard to find med packs to steal in this game. On entering the Brotherhood of Steel compound, I was able to level up again, where I distributed my points between melee weapons and repair. I also took the Toughness perk, giving me a maximum of 85% damage resistance. Scribe Rothschild helped me uncover the location of a GEC, hidden within the depths of Vault 87. However, it was highly irradiated. So now the way forward was to head through Little Lamplight, a cave occupied entirely by children. As always, I'd already chosen the Child at Heart perk, which allowed me access into Little Lamplight and subsequently Murder Pass. Now, to say I got absolutely destroyed in Murder Pass and the way up to Vault 87 would be a severe understatement. I died many times on the way to and inside Vault 87, and I considered reloading a previous save as I just didn't feel I was well equipped enough to deal with this. As for most of this challenge, I didn't really have any stim packs, so healing was going to be a serious problem. I got extremely lucky when I found a sink, although it would give me some radiation damage, but it was better than nothing at this point. I was barely scraping by in Vault 87. I had little to no means of healing, absolutely no ammunition, and essentially broken equipment. But after I rescued Fox, it was pretty much smooth sailing as he was able to deal with all the enemies while I hid behind him like a coward. He also retrieved the Gek. Then on my way out, I got captured by the Enclave. So, after President Eden released me, I was able to level up again, where I maxed out my melee weapon skill and put the rest of the points into speech. I also took the Here and Now perk, which allows me to level up again, as I didn't think I would get another chance. This time I put all of my points into speech and chose the Scoundrel perk, as I was planning on convincing Colonel Autumn to surrender at the end. Now, this is where I thought I was going to hit a serious problem. You see, I was able to collect my possessions from the locker. Unfortunately, it doesn't come across as them being stolen items. So, in order to test if they were in fact still classed as stolen items, I dropped a sledgehammer, and right enough, they are still stolen. So President Eden will order the Enclave to stand down and let you approach his office. However, Colonel Autumn will override this command. I was in no position to fight the Enclave, so I basically just ran past all of the soldiers, and the President's sentry bots took care of the rest. So, as it turns out, spoiler alert, President Eden is in fact a computer. Damn robots taking over the planet, they'll want the right to vote next. So regardless of how you deal with the President, his sentry bot will still help you with the Enclave. So you just have to run past all the enemies to escape, where we meet Forks outside. Now, because I've been nothing but a pure thief throughout this run, unfortunately my karma is not good enough and he will not join us. Upon returning to the Citadel, I leveled up for one last time, where I put my points into speech with the hope of convincing Colonel Autumn to stand down. Then it was time to follow the Iron Giant through DC, until we got to the Jefferson Memorial. Now, by the time I got to the memorial, I was absolutely wrecked, so I had to head back to Rivet City to find a bed to sleep for an hour to get my health back. I survived the fight with Colonel Autumn, having not been able to convince him to stand down, with only a sliver of health. And since I was already karmically evil anyway, I allowed Lions to go into the purifier to sacrifice herself for the greater good, and more specifically myself. And that's how we beat Fallout 3 with only stolen items and equipment. So, I think I've realised that Fallout 3 doesn't really cater for a stealth and thievery build in the way that the Elder Scrolls series does, but it was still an interesting thing to try. So I kind of feel like I want to start doing Fallout 4 challenges as well. However, I'm really not familiar with Fallout 4, so I think I'll probably struggle. But the struggle is what makes these challenges so fun for me to do. So I'd just like to thank you all so much for watching today. Please like, subscribe and all that good stuff. Leave any comments if you do have any, and I will see you guys next time. Take care.